To be released on DVD and Blu-ray on February the 10th, one of the cinematic highlights of 2013, featuring a wholly immersive and almost certainly career-best performance by the great James McAvoy, Filth. As you should undoubtedly have come to expect from any take on an Irving Welsh novel, Filth was darkly funny, but not particularly comfortable viewing. Screenwriter and director John S. Baird's adaptation was shocking, vulgar, and challenging. Despite all of that, it was also, ultimately, rather moving. John joins us today for this edition of the Mouthcast. Welcome, John.
Thank you very much.
As ever with Irving Welsh, there were great characters and some amazing dialogue, but the book was written almost in a stream of consciousness way. So I imagine most would say, after reading it, that it was probably unfilmable. Did you find adapting to screenplay a particular challenge?
It was a massive challenge. I think Irving's work is always a challenge because he writes brilliant dialogue and he writes brilliant characters, but sometimes narrative and the structure is difficult to sort of, get your head around. And Danny Boyle found the same thing with Trainspotting. I'm actually working with Danny just now, believe it or not. So we've had chats about the challenges about adapting Irving's work, and I think Filth in particular, was supposedly the unfilmable one, but I always thought the character was so fascinating that he was worth having a go at. So although it was a real challenge, Bruce was worth doing it for.
Scotland. This nation brought the world television, the steam engine, golf, whiskey, penicillin, and of course, the deep-fried Mars bar. It is great being Scottish. We're such a uniquely successful race. And as my wife Carol always says, there's no place like home. The games are always, repeat always, being played, but nobody plays the games like me. Detective Sergeant Bruce Robertson. You just have to be the best, and I usually am. Same rules apply.
So when you first read the book, John, were you working out how you might make it as a film?
Something I didn't, because I wasn't working in film at the time. I was just left university. I never even thought it would be possible to work on a film, never mind do this. And I knew that I loved this book and I loved this character, and I read the book, 5 or 6 different times during the years between, first reading it and meeting Irving Welsh. But my first read of it certainly wasn't as a potential filmmaker. It was just as a completely gobsmacked graduate who was just amazed by this guy. So I had a very raw sort of sense of what it was at the very beginning. But as soon as I met Irving, and I had done my first film, I knew this was what I wanted to do.
Well, when you and Irving first discussed the idea, I think I'm right in saying this, he told you if you managed to get the film made, he would have a Filth tattoo done.
Yeah, he got it done. He showed me it the day that he saw the first cut of the film, and we were in a hotel in London, and it was an amazing coincidence and timing. Just as he was showing me, Harvey Weinstein walked past, and Harvey had the option for Filth, and it ran out years ago. And honestly, you couldn't have written this. And he walked past, and Irving, as he was lifting up his T-shirt to show me, the pig with the policeman's hat on, like the book cover, Harvey walks past, and Irving turns to me, half drunk, and shouts, "Harvey, you C-word, check out this." I was just gobsmacked, but that's a true story.
Does that make me then?
You're a policeman.
Christ. Who taught you that technique? A friggin' cheese grater?
And what made you join the force, Bruce?
Police oppression, brother.
And you wanted to stamp it out from the inside?
No, I wanted to be a part of it.
Well, the character Bruce Robertson is played so well against type by James McAvoy.
Yeah.
Not that he carries a film, because everyone, Joanne Froggatt, Imogen Poots, Jamie Bell, Eddie Marson, Shirley Henderson, is absolutely pitch perfect, but James has an absolutely magnetic presence in this film.
None of us thought that James McAvoy was going to be Bruce Robertson at the start, certainly not me and Irvin. And then we met him, and he changed our minds very quickly. We thought he was a different kind of guy, and then when we met him in real life, he's a lot edgier than we'd first imagined, and his understanding of the character and of mental illness, that it was really important. He really grasped who this guy was from the very beginning off the page, so it made it a lot easier when we got into rehearsals to fine-tune his performance, and he's probably the most professional person I've worked with in terms of actors. He raises the bar for everybody else, and he never goes to his trailer. He's very professional, he's very dedicated, and he's challenging as well. Don't get me wrong; it wasn't 100% smooth all the time, but I think that's what always makes great art is people challenge each other. And what makes an interesting journey as well. If there are interesting challenges along the way, and the point being that I think it's his best performance to date, and hopefully it'll be one that he will cherish throughout his career,
You're gonna hit me, Bruce! Yeah?
Oh, my darling, I'm sorry.
You sicken me. You repulse me. Can I make that any fucking plainer?
I wasn't going to hit you. I didn't mean it.
As your colleague, and as a human being, I'm telling you, Bruce, you've got some stuff to sort out. Okay? And you might become the sort of person that you seem to imagine yourself to be, although Christ only knows what that is.
I used to be good at this job, Amanda. I used to be a good person.
Yeah, I heard that.
Well, Bruce is one of those interesting characters thrown up from time to time, in that he's utterly despicable, but despite the things he does, the way he treats people, making him almost impossible to relate to, almost irredeemable, actually, the audience end up rooting for him.
Yeah, some of that was in the adaptation. I think that from a character in a book who was extremely, extremely unlikable and had pretty much zero redeeming features or characteristics, in the book you're less likely to root for him. So yeah, we had to be very careful, and a lot of that came in editing as well. When you're making a film, you've got to be a bit cute with that, because when you're reading a book, you can make up the levels of intensity that you're reading. But when a film, your audience is just subjected to what you're telling them. So there were certain devices that we used, and also things that we used in certain order that made you empathise with the character slightly more. But certainly most of it was how James allowed the audience to tune into this character. It was a combination, it was a combination of the writing and how he nuanced the performance. But I think, that was the big challenge.
Yeah. Bruce's asides to camera make the audience complicit in his private world, his jokes, despite their cruelty. So it's not really a comfortable watch at that level. I certainly found that I was questioning my own reactions to him.
Well, that was kind of what we were aiming for, It was almost like we were going to challenge the audience, right? Are you going to go with this guy, regardless if you like him or you don't? Are you going to be interested enough in his journey? And at the end, are you going to shed a tear for him, and then shame on you for doing, because he's almost like just lulled you into his world, albeit understanding why he gets to that place. So it's a complex story, and it's great when people respond to it like that, and they get it, when they get what you've done or what you're trying to do anyway.
I think my family have left me. I don't know. I can't remember why. You see, there's something wrong with me. There's something seriously wrong with me.
Have you spoken to anyone? Have you been to see a doctor?
Yeah. No. I don't know. I'm in charge.
Well, the fact that the character is so devoid of moral worth is peeled away. Through the film, his vulnerabilities are gradually exposed, and there are a couple of really rather moving watershed moments towards the end of the film. Meeting Mary, the character played by Joanne Froggatt, is such a moment of hope for Bruce.
Yeah, I mean that again, it was very important casting for that character, and Joanne Froggatt was somebody I'd worked with before, and I just felt the audience's knowledge of Joanne and her and James knew each other before, and there was a lot of decisions on the casting of Mary, but made Mary a bigger character than was in the book as well. Mary does feature in the book, but not to such an important level as she does in the film. But the big thing was to bring her story forward. So I think once Mary starts to see him as a human being, having tried to save her husband's life, then it's a key into his world, you know. So I kind of think she's really the unsung hero, Mary, you know, in terms of why we understand Bruce, or why we even have a modicum of empathy for him. It's because of the Mary character.
Sorry.
Hello. How are you?
Yeah, I'm just going to pick the flowers up.
Oh, what is the funeral today, aye?
Yeah.
Right. Is that your wreath? The one that says Dad?
Yeah.
How many kids have you got?
Just one. A wee boy. You ever lost anyone close?
Mm-hmm.
Hurts like hell, eh?
Mm-hmm. I've got to go. I'm really sorry, I've got to go.
Mary's presence offers Bruce the chance of redemption, really, a way out of his bleak life.
Yeah, exactly.
Which makes the ending of the film particularly tragic because circumstance leads him to the point where he can't take that chance.
Yeah, exactly. It's a chance for Bruce. The other thing, the ambiguous thing, I think, is whether he purposely doesn't take it because he feels as though he doesn't want to wreck somebody else's life, or whether he does try and, you know, stop the chair from going. I quite like that because people take out that the ending a lot of different things, and I've noticed that in question and answer sessions. I know what I sort of intended. I think James even interprets it slightly different than I do, because, you know, when you get to edit, you can be very subtle with it, you know, with the emotion and stuff. But some people even have said to me, oh, well, I really, really don't want to believe that Bruce is dead. I want to believe that the scarf that he tied around his neck he had broken. So it's really fascinating when you get in front of a Q&A and an audience and that. So, you know, the almost love affair really adds to the tragedy, along with his message to Blasey and the soundtrack that we've used and stuff. And there's all sorts of ways of manipulating an audience into that way of thinking, you know.
You mentioned soundtrack there. In line with other film adaptations of Irving Welsh books, particularly Trainspotting, of course, the soundtrack to Filth was really good.
Yeah.
My guess is it's as much fun working out how you want the film to sound as it is how you want it to look.
Yeah, Bruce's soundtrack to his life in the book is very heavy metal based, yeah, and soft. Well, it's heavy metal and rock ballady. You know, he's got that guilty pleasure. So tried that in the very first script. That's what was written in. And even the shooting script, we kind of alluded to that. Then we got to the edit, we just found it made it feel like a different film. It didn't really help with the tone, and we found that soul music was kind of the way to go, because it has a heart and it has a certain tragedy to it as well, and it has an emotion and an excitement as well. And it was just really that, along with Clint Mansell's score, is how we thought best fitted the tone of this film, you know.
Yeah. Well, the tone is very bleak, but it's also wicked and wickedly funny.
Yeah.
Black comedy.
Well, I think that's Irvin all over. You know, I think as a person, Irvin is that, you know. He's hilarious through very, very dark comedy, and that's why we both get on very well, because our sense of humour is very much like that. But underneath it all, we're two softies, especially me. And that's why I wanted to have the emotional element to it as well, you know, because I think life's like that. You know, I think you can find emotion in or you can find humour in some of the most tragic moments. And I think that's just how life goes, you know.